Welcome to the September, are we on?
Yep.
The September 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. First, a couple of announcements. First, I want to thank the SBA and Hugh at the Highway Department and Michael Canales here for a great Josh last weekend. In fact, the Josh organizers, Michael, wanted you to have this wonderful t-shirt, so we're going to give that to you. It has not been worn. It came right out of the box.
All right.
Thank you for all your efforts. I just wanted to also point out at the last meeting, we were asked a question, two questions really. How many children are there at Pine Woods? And it turns out the answer is 25. And we were asked to get the schedule on the paving of Pine Woods. And the first half of Pine Woods will be done this fall, and the second half, hopefully in the spring or early summer. I did talk to both the June Wolf and the paving contractor, who pointed out that it's basically like paving on top of water, and it has to be actually pretty dry to do the work. But the work is scheduled for the first half from the driveway to the berm or whatever it's called, some kind of area back there. So that was the answer to that question. Does anybody have any public comments or any? Yes. I'm like, I'll come up and give you your name and,
Michael Royston, 44 Glendale Road. This is not easy for me, so I had to write this stuff down. I voted for both everyone on this board. And to paraphrase Claude Rains, I'm shocked, simply shocked. I watched the September 8th meeting and really couldn't believe what I was hearing. This may come as a surprise to you, Chuck and Jamie, but you don't represent second homeowners. You represent the people of Stockbridge who voted for you. I'm very nervous. The second homeowners chose to live elsewhere, and they have their own representatives where they live. I can't believe the two of you announced that you would never vote for RTE, thereby prematurely killing the possibility and cutting off all discussion before the formal vote in October. As I was writing this up, it dawned on me that you brought in a sheet of paper, Jamie, and read from it about why you're voting against RTE. Makes me think you prepared in advance to make it known you were voting against it before the October meeting. And because the two of you don't know that you represent only the people that voted for you, I think you both should resign. That's all I have to say.
All right, anyone else have anything to say in the public part of the meeting? Okay, so let's get on to the special permit hearing to consider. I move that we open the hearing to special permit public hearing to consider the application of Michael and Rebecca R. Bellora for property located at 38 Lake Drive and waive the reading of the notice and incorporate the notice into the minutes of the hearing. Second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, roll call. I, Patrick White.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Jamie.
The following procedures will be followed. A, testimony will be limited to the issues directly related to the subject matter. B, only one person will be permitted to speak at a time. C, all discussion will go through the chair. D, all parties will conduct themselves civilly. E, arguments between parties will not be permitted. Is the applicant present?
Good evening.
Yes, so hello. And you want to just identify yourself?
Yes, sir.
Name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Brent White from White Engineering, 55 South Merriam Street in Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, on behalf of the applicant. And joining me this evening is Attorney Nicholas Arienti from Helmuth, Sherman, Arienti in Great Barrington. Thank you all for your time. This This is a special permit filed under section 6.1 for the demolition and reconstruction of a single-family home that is pre-existing non-conforming. We have an approximately quarter acre lot that fronts on Stockbridge Bowl. And the existing lot itself is pre-existing non-conforming due to its lot size. And the existing structure is pre-existing non-conforming due to its lot coverage being in excess of 10%, as well as proximity to property boundaries. I'd just like to orient you to our site plan. Towards the top is Lake Drive. What you see highlighted in red is the footprint of the existing single-family home. This is the existing lawn area, and then obviously Stockbridge Bowl in the bottom area here. As a part of this reconstruction, we've gone through great efforts to design a home that will be suitable for the Bloras and many generations of their family to come. As you'll notice on the site plan, one of the first things that we've done is actually shifted the house to be more centered on the lot. So it's actually representing an improvement with respect to our proximity to neighboring side property boundaries. The home has been designed to match the existing 11% lot coverage, so we are not exceeding the lot coverage of the existing structure that exists on the property. Through the design, we've also had a number of reviews already completed and approved. The first was with the Stockbridge Board of Health. The property is served by an individual water supply well as it's currently serviced by a tight tank, a self-contained holding tank. We conducted a soil evaluation, designed a septic system that required a number of variances. And the Board of Health this past June held a public hearing with the neighbors who were impacted by the variances noticed by certified mail. And the Stockbridge Board of Health voted unanimously to approve all the local upgrade approvals associated with the septic system design and the proximity of that septic system to our own water supply well, as well as that of our neighbor to the north. The second review and approval that we have received is from the Stockbridge Conservation Commission. When the product was initially filed, the home itself was actually proposed to be larger than the footprint that you see before you this evening. Through that review process, we have reduced the footprint of the house to match the pre-existing non-conforming lot coverage, position the house in a way that will be satisfactory for the blower's use. As a part of that review, the Conservation Commission retained the services of a third-party reviewer, somewhat of a common practice. And in this case, the reviewer, David Cameron, has a private consulting business. His previous role was actually as the section chief for the Department of Environmental Protection Wetlands Region based out of Springfield. Professional wetland scientist, very, very knowledgeable, and in his past life had been the state representative reviewing projects on behalf of the Conservation Commission. Through his review, there was some comments raised associated with the proposed replanting, as well as providing some greater clarification on the site plans to help better distinguish between roof leaders, subsurface drains, and the function of each of the various planting areas. And as a result of that, the commission at the August 23rd meeting voted to issue a unanimous approval for the order of conditions. I do have, just to submit into the record, this is the order of conditions that was issued by the Stockbridge Conservation Commission. We haven't had a chance to formally record that permit yet against the deed here, but we will follow through with that and provide that proof of recording to the Conservation Commission itself. Overall, we feel this project represents a significant benefit to the property and to the neighborhood. We have a structure that will be built with state-of-the-art materials, very energy efficient, provides substantially more native vegetation and removal of dead trees that are of a burden to both the existing homeowner as well as our neighbors to the north and to the south. State-of-the-art septic system that will come with an operation and maintenance contract and reported to the Board of Health to verify that the system is indeed performing the way that it was designed. Ultimately, our suggestion and Attorney Arian's special permit application, I thought, did a great job detailing how the product itself was not only not a detriment to the neighborhood, but in our view, a significant improvement from what is there currently. With that, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you again for your time.
Questions?
I have none.
I'm okay.
You have a picture of the house on one of the flips? If not, it's not a big deal. I just want to see it.
It should be,
The application here. That's
yeah, I can give you my copy.
No, I wanted to turn and show it to the camera. Yeah, but that's okay. That's fine. If there's no questions, let's see. Anybody want to speak in favor? Or anybody want to speak in opposition? All right. Well, in that case, I'm going to move that we close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and move to deliberation by the board.
Second. Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye, Patrick.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Jamie.
All right. Anybody have any concerns with this one?
No, none.
Fits everything we need to fit.
Good. Do we have
I'll
a
make a
move to
motion
approve?
That we accept the special permit.
I'll
right.
second it.
I move to, we approve the special permit. Yes. So let's second that.
Yes.
Second.
All right. Aye, Patrick.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Jamie.
All
Thank you
right.
all for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank
It
you.
was nice when you come in and everything's there.
And does that close the public hearing? Yes.
Yeah, and then I'll go.
So I'm going to entertain a motion, or I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Aye, Patrick.
Hi, Jamie.
Figure those out one days. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Next on the agenda, we have Jesse Cooley. I see you, Jesse. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you, Patrick?
Good. Jesse is with Berkshire Community Action Council. Is that right? Yep. And so Jesse hosts a lunch for county selectmen and some of our elected state and federal level leaders this last Friday at the Proprietors Lodge. Is that which is quite a nice little club on the shores of Onoda Lake. And the topic was barriers to weatherization. So do you want to talk a little bit about what those barriers are and how we can help?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for giving me some time tonight. I really appreciate it, all of you. My name is Jesse Cooley. So as Patrick said, I'm working on this special project with Berkshire Community Action Council. And it is a county-wide project where we are noticing, and we have the data that shows that the challenges that we're looking at affect residents of every town in Berkshire County, including Stockbridge. So BCAC, as some refer to it as also, it has a weatherization department and a home heating services department, in addition to their fuel assistance, or otherwise known as LIHEAP program. So the population that we're focusing on for this project are folks with low income. Many of them are elderly, many people with disabilities, families with young children. Both residents who are renting and also homeowners throughout the county. And anyone who's on fuel assistance can have an energy audit completed by the department at Berkshire Community Action. Their energy auditors go out to folks' homes and help them determine whether some weatherization or home heating system replacement or repair would help them reduce their energy costs and usage. And that's, of course, we all know the benefits of having good insulation and other types of weatherization in our home, or highly functioning home heating services is really key to keeping our heat as affordable as possible. No matter what type of heat it is, we don't want to be leaking that heat out of our home unnecessarily. But of course, we have a very old housing stock across the county in many cases. So it is common. And a lot of folks with low income, it's a really dire situation. Even if they have fuel assistance, it might not be affordable, especially these days, fuel costs being so high that some folks are left with just staying in one room of their house with a space heater for heat, or using their oven for heat, and other unsafe situations. So the energy auditors will go out and try to help them determine what they're eligible for and what they need. And there are a lot of free weatherization benefits. Even having an entire home heating system replaced can be entirely free for people with low income due to funding from the state and the utility companies. What happens is 1 in 3 of these energy audits that are conducted in Berkshire County come up with a number of barriers, or at least one barrier. And we call these readiness projects. So they find a project that the homeowner or the resident needs to have repaired in the home before they can actually have the weatherization implemented. For instance, if they have a roof leak, that has to be fixed before they can have insulation in their attic. Or if they have asbestos or vermiculite in the home, which is common, that has to be removed as well. Sometimes it's like the whole heating system is covered in asbestos. So there's no way to remove it safely and replace it until that asbestos is remediated. The most common roadblock or barrier in Berkshire County is knob and tube wiring. So there's no way to insulate a wall or any walls with knob and tube wiring. And it's a major fire hazard. So that has to be switched over as well. Sometimes it's mold or mildew in the home, or it could be heavy storage. So if people have too much clutter in the home, and that could be due to hoarding disorder, or it could be due to just, somebody with a disability or an elderly person who's unable to remove all of the clutter themselves, even if they want to, and therefore a contractor can't get in to do the work that's needed. So Berkshire Community Action wrote a grant for me to try to tackle this problem and look at it from a number of different angles, because what we have found is that there's not enough funding at any level, town, state, federal, to address the issue and to actually get these remediation projects, these readiness projects completed. So for years now, there's just been a growing deferral list of homes that need this and that need weatherization, but they're being deferred without a sufficient funding to help. So I've been talking to leaders throughout Berkshire County, including, as Patrick mentioned, our state legislative delegation and representatives from our federal delegation, trying to look at any kind of policy level changes that we can make or additional funding. A lot of the time, the problem is that the funding isn't even flexible enough, even if it's there. So the project has to be specifically weatherization in order to use some of the funding rather than these readiness projects that are needed in order to get weatherization. So it's a really challenging project. And one of the reasons that I'm talking with select boards and town managers and other municipal leaders is because if there's any possibility of, first of all, any resources that you know of in your town that may help, I am open to all ideas. Connections across sectors, I'm open. So we're trying to look at any possible solutions, knowing this will have to be a collaborative effort to really help these folks get their projects completed. Also, some towns are considering appropriating some part of their town budget towards this project specifically for their residents. So the town of Richmond has been doing this for many years now, and it works really well there. So they have a line item in their town budget that passes through town meeting every year, and the money is administered in a separate fiduciary account at Berkshire Community Action Council. So no one in the town has to administer the funding or decide which resident needs it and how to go about managing that project. That's all, it's not their responsibility, which I think is really great for the town. And the folks at Berkshire Community Action can access that flexible funding only for the residents of that town and get the projects done that otherwise would not have been. And then they issue a report at the end of the year, each year, to the town of Richmond to tell them how many people were served, but it's all confidential, which is great for the residents there. So if that's an option, I wanted to present that for discussion and consideration. And I'll stop talking now to answer your questions. I can, of course, provide more information on specifics in Stockbridge as well.
And so this is a complementary program to Mass Save where it's not 100%. Mass Save is for folks who don't income qualify, and this is a program that is that for folks who qualify for 100% weatherization.
That's correct.
Okay. And then Jesse, you had sent me an outline of some of the specific homes, obviously without getting into whose homes they are in Stockbridge, who could who have some barriers currently. Do you want to review those or?
Sure, absolutely. Yes. Thankfully, the current list in Stockbridge is fairly small. It does represent only a fraction of the need because there are many people that have not even had an audit yet, or perhaps haven't even accessed fuel assistance. There's a real underutilization of fuel assistance across Berkshire County. So I also am trying to raise awareness about that so more people can access that benefit. So anyway, every time there's a new audit, of course, there's a possibility of finding another home. But right now we have 4 solid projects that are in need of taking action on that we've been able to, update, verify, because some people have been on the list for a long time. And so it's harder to verify, but this is accurate and current. 4 projects in town. The total cost of completing all of them, most of them are knob and tube wiring. One of them is a vermiculite removal. Vermiculite has asbestos. And they're on average going to be, in general, these projects are $6,000 to $10,000 on average. It does depend on contractor and labor and costs. And we don't get the particular bid on the project until we have funding, and we're going to be moving forward for a number of reasons. But the total for all four, we would estimate between $32,000 and $36,000 to complete all four readiness projects. We're able to access some funding from the utility companies and the state, probably up to $5,000 per project. So we'd be looking for $12,000 to $16,000 in supplemental funding for those. So again, every little contribution helps because we're looking in a number of directions for funding. So we're trying to just get to that top and get to the level where we can actually move forward with the projects.
So basically part of this $32,000 to $36,000 expenses is there's already some funding sources in place, like matching funds from utility companies.
That's right.
So really, I think there's two questions here. Do we want to, in the long term, emulate Richmond and consider I believe you said that Richmond comes up with about $10,000 in annual funding between a pancake breakfast and a line item?
It's actually more like 15,000 total. The town line item is 5,000 a year. And then there's a church fundraising effort that's about 10,000 a year.
That's great.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the question would be, do we want to try to, help them jumpstart I believe there's 5 homes on the list, 4 that are ready to go. If we can close this gap on funding, which could get them remediated, before this winter, correct?
That would be the goal. Absolutely.
Yeah. And to do that, I think we'd be required to use ARPA to fund 2 BCAC. We wouldn't be able to, obviously, aid homeowners directly.
Why,
What?
why ARPA funds?
Well, because it's not,
One thing we gotta check is that, I'll have to check with it, is to make sure, because the funds are given to Berkshire Community Action Coalition, right?
yeah. Yes, they are. And I asked this question at the luncheon, and Smitty answered that that's the reason why towns partner with them is to get around the anti-aid amendment.
Right, so right, and whether or not you guys can enter in this, it's based, just gotta check make sure we can use the ARPA. At town meeting can authorize funds to go toward the Berkshire for this job. I gotta check to see if the select board can do it on their own.
Okay.
Town meeting can, that's a definite, so, yeah.
Okay.
So probably by the next meeting, I can have that back in front, other than Richmond, who's allocating through town meeting, who can, like I said, town meeting can give funds to nonprofits for community events and stuff. Has anybody else used any other funds that you're aware of for your programming?
Only ARPA funding also, actually. So, but it might be a different procedure. Pittsfield had an application process for some of their ARPA funding. So we did apply for that for the city of Pittsfield and received money from ARPA. And North Adams is considering the same, although I don't think that's going to be an application process. So we're working with them. And other towns have certainly considered ARPA as well. Many of them had already allocated everything by the time I started the project. So I know some is being released now. Great Barrington is one example. They're releasing more now. So it's kind of a moving target, the ARPA funds, depending on the community. But I know that others have considered it. So thank you for looking into that.
Yeah, because I'll make sure, because that's what I'm referring to, is that if you don't have an appropriation from like town meeting, what they did in Pittsfield, right, is they put it out to any groups to submit their idea, and then if yours was one of the top ones, but it allowed all nonprofits to apply. And that's what I want to make sure we're not getting into that.
What do you guys think of this generally? I mean, it's a sort of short money that then opens the door for, relatively low income homeowners to get 100% weatherization and save money on their heating bills. That's the clear benefit as I see it.
Can't citizens do it on, make a call to the organization or do they have to go through the town?
Well, if it's an appropriation to the organization, like the way that's done in Richmond, then they're basically giving funds to be used for Richmond representatives through there. Same thing with the ARPA funds was what Pittsfield did, but because it wasn't a legislative body move to send the money there, they had to basically put it out as a grant that not only Berkshire Community Action Coalition, but any group could apply for. So I just gotta make sure which one we can go.
Right. Well, I just want to get
The
a,
Stockbridge resident.
yes, this would be limited to Stockbridge residents.
Yeah.
No, but couldn't a Stockbridge resident call and get fuel assistance on their own? They don't have to go through the town.
Right.
Okay.
We're not talking,
Yeah,
we're talking
okay.
about the knob and tube, which prevents somebody from.
Right.
If you have knob and tube wiring, you have to get that replaced before you
Okay.
can go
Okay,
after.
okay.
So these people have already called. These people have already called and tried to get it, and then they've been told that, oh, you've got knob and tube wiring, so we can't do the work for you until you fix that.
Okay.
And so if they don't have the 8,000 to fix it, then they don't get the weatherization.
I'll double check on how we can do it and get back to you at the next meeting. What I don't want to do is have it where it's a grant application for assistance where it might be other.
Right, but I want to know their interest.
Targeted.
Before we actually do the work, I wanted to gauge the board's interest in pursuing it.
Yeah. I have no issue pursuing it.
I think it's a good idea.
All right.
So can we vote to authorize it and condition it upon you finding a way to do it?
We'll bring it back at the October meeting.
Well, I'm just saying that they've got people who they're trying to get done before the winter. So I'd rather just give
They
you,
can't commit to do any,
we're not committing. We would just commit to give you the authority to go ahead.
Wait.
I mean, it's not till October 11th is the next meeting. We're going to lose almost 3 weeks. So I don't want to authorize
We
giving
have
the
to
money.
follow the rules, right?
so, well, that is a way that basically what Patrick's saying is if we had a motion that if ARPA funds can be used
Yeah.
directly
Okay.
as a sub-recipient and then,
All right.
yeah, we gotta
much?
check.
How much are we?
Right, how much are you authorizing?
I think we should try the minimum, the 12,000. That would be my motion. They said they need 12 to 16.
To do the ones that are in the queue already.
Right.
That's 4, correct?
That's correct.
And what was the amount again? 12 to 16,000?
All right, okay, good.
That's right.
And how much ARPA monies do we have left?
300 and something.
Okay.
I would go with the 16.
All right. Fine with me.
All right, so
I
if,
shortchanged.
So phrase the motion and I'll make it.
so the select board will authorizing me to use ARPA funds if eligible to support BCAC's program.
Weatherization barrier program. All right. So I make a motion that
Almost 16,000.
the select board authorize the use of up to $16,000 or $16,000 in ARPA funds to support the weatherization barrier efforts of BCAC, subject to your confirmation that we can legally use ARPA in that way.
Yep,
So if this passes, this goes to you, correct?
yeah, the 16 would go to them
Then you use it
for Stockbridge.
for Stockbridge residents, but it's all confidential. Nobody knows who these people are, correct?
That's correct.
Perfect.
That's right. We couldn't share the information
We don't
anyway.
want.
We don't want to know.
I want to make sure that it's confidential and
All right, so that's a motion. Do we have a second?
second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Excellent. Thank you, Jesse. Laura, I'm sorry, was your hand up? Did you want to say anything? I can't hear you.
You muted.
No,
Hey.
no, my hand wasn't up. I wanted to,
Oh, okay.
now it's not muted. No, I want to say thank you. Thank you, BCAC, for the work that you're doing. And I think it's really important to both, to all of the benefits, both for the housing stock, for the people, for the environment, and to take care of our citizens. I think this is a good step, and hopefully in the future, there'll be more other money to take care of this, all these barriers.
Yes, we take care of all the people in Stockbridge.
Very good. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you,
All right.
Laura. Thank you to the select board. Thank you to all of you, to Michael. I really appreciate your attention to this matter. And it's true, it really has a ripple effect in terms of the benefits for your your whole community and for the homeowners that need these projects done. Thank you so much for looking into it.
I should be able to get you an answer by next week. I'm not here tomorrow, but I'll get to work on it first thing next week.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Great. All right. So the next one is discussion on the internship discussion. We had some email communications with Sean Flynn, the guidance counselor, about thinking about an internship program similar to what the school committee does, where they actually have folks, I think there's one or two students who participate in the school committee for several meetings. In addition, working in town hall, I believe it's a total commitment. What do you say, Michael? 7 hours, 7.5 hours a week.
And what would they be doing?
Learning about government, maybe taking on some small tasks as far as coming up with. So I've actually done these before, both with BART School and MCLA's political science. Those were college students, so a little higher level programs, but it can be everything from, updating an old plan to, learning just about government, things like that, so.
Yeah, and we've got boxes of Campusa documents. We could basically say, organize these.
Well, we don't want, that's not teaching somebody government.
Yeah.
We want to get them on a project or something with oversight. So, like I said, I've done these before where, it can be, it could be running with, doing some of the legwork for some of the things, such as like if we're talking about the farmer's market next, it could be trying to assist in putting together the programming, maybe coming up with a funding spreadsheet, things like that, touching base with who's involved. It could be those things. And a lot of it will depend on the individual student. I had some really good ones, and every once in a while you get somebody that, it's more of holding hands, but overall, these can be very positive experiences. They come to me like your select board meetings, see how they operate. They can learn from the town clerk what an open meeting law is, things like that. So, it's can be very interesting.
Yeah. And, I think
it won't disrupt the everyday flow of.
No.
So, okay, that's what I was worried about.
Because I'm sure we'll talk, I'll have to talk to you, right, if it turns out that the student just isn't able to or not, we need to be able to say, hey. Typically these are people considering like political science, maybe a senior in high school is thinking about it for college and, then they get in here and see what it's like and they go running from the building screaming.
Going to different fields.
All right, so should we authorize discussion with, setting up an internship with Sean Flynn and Monument to do this on a pilot basis?
I'm fine with it if you guys are.
If you're comfortable with it.
You want to vote on it, or you want to are we good?
I'll work with Sean to establish a pilot program and let you guys know how it goes and see if it's something we want to commit to.
Okay,
good.
Great.
All right, Matthew, come up. You're next. We got a discussion of the Stockbridge Farmers Market.
All right. Thank you for having me. For all of you who don't know me, I'm Matthew Boudreau, Chair of the Agriculture and Forestry Commission for Stockbridge. So as you know, our bylaw that creates our commission, main purpose is to promote agriculture and forestry in the town of Stockbridge. So we are seeking approval / support from the select board to jumpstart a farmer's market in downtown Stockbridge. So we're seeking support to hire a coordinator, funds to promote, and then eventually hopefully have a farmer's market that is self-sustaining within a couple of years. That's what I have, but I'd like questions from you.
And what specifically is the need?
So since the moment it was started, I've been hearing bits and pieces from people asking when the farmer's market's coming, when's the farmer's market? And I think that was even before I had even started with the commission. And then in terms of producers, there are a small group of producers in Stockbridge, in the actual town of Stockbridge, that have reached out who are interested in potentially seeing a farmer's market. What we imagine and through our discussions is nothing in the scale of like the Great Barrington's Farmers Market, trying to recreate that here, but focusing more on the citizens and trying to do something that is during the week for potentially not the people that come on the weekends or they're just here to see the leaves on the weekends. So that be during the week, potentially on the grounds of the town offices here. It does show a lot of potential, being that there's a giant gymnasium when we have bad weather, or also public bathrooms. So nothing is solidified, nothing is confirmed. We want to get going on this now because we want to get a coordinator to start figuring those bits and pieces out, timing, start reaching out to vendors, so that we are ready to go when the season hits next year. Otherwise, I feel like if we start pushing this off longer and longer, we'll be looking at 2024 as a potential start date. Yeah.
And do you have a number in mind that you're looking to launch this?
The commission was talking about no more than 10,000. That would include promotional material for 2 years and a stipend for the coordinator.
And how many hours would the coordinator work?
Well, that is something to be discussed. I think also, since we can't really hire someone as a commission, that's something to kind of be discussed and create a job description. But I imagine working the farmer markets and putting time in before the season to promote, coordinate, and get people on board. And the commission would support them in advising and also reaching out and getting people. From what we hear, the biggest challenge will be getting vegetable producers, just because there are a lot of established markets already around. And the thing that we would be bringing is hopefully that $10,000 would support us to not have a vendor's fee the first couple of years, to really jumpstart that, to kind of give the solid foundation for the farmers market by getting the vendors interested in coming here. Most other markets, that's how they fund the coordinator, is start charging fees to the actual vendors and producers.
Right.
And this is gonna be, I'm 100% behind this from the start. But this is gonna be farmer's market, not
Crafts market.
turn to crafts market.
Yeah, that's, I think, the other thing we heard is really trying to focus on the food aspect. A lot of markets, you go to a lot of markets and they're producing value-added products because that's how farmers right now are trying to make their money in those markets on the weekends and stuff. We're hoping to be a venue that, talking to a coordinator, hopefully that will be supporting the actual just farming agricultural products without having them bring in a grill and then also do that. On the other hand, I know a lot of farmers who make sausage or make stuff, so they want to be throwing some dogs on a grill to sell that too.
I don't mind that. I'm talking more of
Like craft?
getting into arts and crafts and that taking over.
I'm
Farmers making some, the farmer's wife makes some doilies and stuff, have them there. Something like that is fine, but I don't want like rules of just crafts. And we could do that separately. If that comes up, that could be a separate event, but I think we got to concentrate more on the farmer produce in the.
We are 100% in agreement with that. I think that is something we saw as a challenge that kind of it gets taken over time, farmers markets, with a lot more crafts which I have nothing against crafts, arts, or anything like that.
I think we have separate venues for that.
Yeah, but I think that, and that's why also I don't imagine this being to the scale of a Great Barrington's Farmers Market right off the bat. Anecdotally, some coordinators in larger markets of that scale and up, I've heard that that's their coordinating fee is about $10,000. So right off the bat, we're looking at a smaller scale, something that could be stopped by after work. Hopefully with the town halls, it would be on the Beeline, running promotion with the Beeline and people getting off the bus and be able to go there and stop on the way home. You know, the other thing is we're looking at is during the week, we would have less competition right now, lower competition than trying to compete during the weekend on a Saturday, Sunday, where there is Great Barrington. I believe Lennox too is either Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, and then Lee's on
Lee has a big one
Saturday.
on Saturday.
So if we're in the beginning of the week, we're hoping to catch those people that are coming home from work rather than setting up all Saturday, because it does cost a lot to pay. If you're a farmer, if you're there all weekend, that means you're not in the field harvesting, you're not taking care of your crops. And if you're going to pay someone, it's going to cost you a lot to have them sit there and not be productive. So that's why we see that the first few years would be important not to have a fee for vendors to incentivize them to make it more profitable for them.
And in a whole lot of towns in the region, not so much around here, it seems like farmers markets sometimes are paired, not so much with arts and crafts, but with flea markets. You know, it's kind of like, you know, inexpensive goods. Sometimes they're like used goods that, you know, that seems to draw a lot of folks as well. Is there a local flea market that we know of anywhere?
Not that I know of. And I don't think, you know, that really came up in our discussions. It's more focusing, trying to just get the people who are producing agricultural products and food for the community.
Not leftovers.
It's not to say that, you know, they're gonna imagine a day where it's promoting textile products. So wool producers, you know, there could be another day that's promoting the meat products,
That's farming.
dairy, you know, like
Farming related.
exactly, you know, and kind of going along that route and having, promoting those specific vendors. But I think this is also, a lot of this needs to be hashed out, and why we're thinking there needs to be a dedicated coordinator to kind of really hone in and start strategizing it. And then we would just be advising, helping support them, make those decisions, make those connections to get the people here. So there's nothing really set in stone other than people want a farmer's market. This is kind of like the jumping off point. I think it's been talked about a while. And to see if we can make a go at it and compete.
And when would it begin and end the season, farmer's market season, that you see it?
I mean, it really could follow just like the warm weather season, Labor Day, Memorial Day kind of trajectory. Or it could go even further into the fall if people are still producing and want to still going or still interested. I think that's also the first two seasons really to figure that out, what makes sense to people, because I know the farm I work for, we're going all the way until December, but not everyone's growing food that long or still out in the fields harvesting in a blizzard kale. So it's kind of, this is why the coordinator will have to talk and get everyone on board to the same time scale.
And how many hours would the farmer's market be open for?
Again, that could be something up to the farmers, you know, what makes sense to them. Is it a 4 to 7, a 4 to 6? Is it earlier? Is it a 2 to 6? Because the other thing is, you imagine there would be an hour to a half hour beforehand for setting up, and then an hour and a half hour afterwards breaking down. So I don't want to say it's going to be an all-day market and, you know, that's like a 12-hour day for a farmer. So it would probably be more in line of a couple hours. So they can set up.
Fine tune.
And then, yeah.
Year by year, you know,
Exactly. I think that's the most important. The first 2 years is to gather the data of when people are coming, when is it most active. The other thing that's really, you know, and this is why this is a good forum for this, is the public is going to be the ones who sustain this. So, we can help get it going and give it some juice, but then it'll be up to the citizens to also put in their input of what days, what times, what works, what feels good, which this forum or the commission would be open to hearing to help make recommendations on it moving forward.
So, looking for $10,000 for seed money. But shoot, that was a
Yes,
joke.
the first, the question I would have is, what do you, if we had to estimate the hours just for planning to get it started? Because it sounds like from now until about Memorial Day, it's not about running the day of the market.
Right.
It's more about the setup of it. What would you guess? Because that's gonna be the awkward part. It's sort of a guess right now.
Right.
As to what we need to, do we start off with, about 100 hours?
Right.
Anticipated to get this up and running and, and then come up with a dollar amount for pay, and then say you did $20 an hour, it'd be $2,000 to get somebody on board who would just basically put in the hours and record probably a journal or something.
Right.
Then submit their pay. I'm just trying to get to.
Yeah.
I understand the 10,000, because what I know from in other communities where we had one, the day of the market, they're there ahead of time, they're there through it, they're there at the end.
Right.
If you start trying to do SNAP benefits and other
Right.
things, it becomes very much, but this is the pre-setup. So this one's sort of awkward to try to figure out what it would cost. Once you get up and operating, you can figure that out, because if you go, all right, it's gonna be 6 hours once a week, or
Right.
once a month, or every other week, or whatever it is, you can sort of plot out once it's up and running.
Right.
So,
I think in conjunction, and this is the other awkward thing, because we have the commission who, can support and help at this time. I think we could hone in hours talking either to Berkshire Grown, because that's who we consulted with when we talked about markets in the beginning, and try to get an estimate. Because I think the other thing is, another problem with estimating this time is, since it's getting up and running, there's a lot more legwork of tracking people down and getting them going. So like this beginning part here may be a little bit more expensive to get off the ground, but then the following season, it's just maintaining those relationships rather than creating them.
right.
So why don't we start with 5 and then come back with a supplemental
No, the
5
reason
once.
why I'm saying, when you say just start with 5, right, how many hours?
Right.
What is the pay?
We don't know. It's
What
not
is the
to
rest?
exceed.
Maybe what I should do, Matt, and you should
Right.
sit down and just figure out and propose a position.
Yeah.
With hours, X hours to get us through, because we're also this one's gonna span more than one fiscal year.
Right.
Most of the market running will be
That's why with Arpa, it
the
doesn't.
next fiscal year, but we need the prep to get there. So maybe if we can talk to that group, get back, and I could just bring it back to these guys and say, after discussions, we figure it's gonna be about 200 hours.
You start
to
just
get
coming-
it started.
Start
and then
coming this
come up
year,
with a
talking
pay.
May, June, July, May, and June, 2 months into this fiscal year.
Yeah,
But
May,
ARPA's not
June.
fiscal year based. I mean, I assume you're going to fund
No,
this.
but
ARPA.
we're
No,
saying
not
that,
necessarily. I think you should think about, I think there's a couple places that in the budget, we have some undesignated compensation lines that we could tap into if we're talking. small
okay, good.
ones. Or we could go that direction. And then remember, this is something that's going to be annual. So we want to build into it. So it could be just maybe the startup money from there.
Yeah, sure. And we could budget after July 1st. We could have it in the regular budget.
I mean, yeah.
But there wouldn't be a fee for if we use town hall, right?
Right, there's
So-
I mean, all in that, and I think that's like this discussion right now is why this is the need to do this now, because it goes by so quickly. By the time you're into February, people are already planting their fields, have already figured out where they're going to be distributing and know what their market is.
Right.
So doing this now, and if we talk and get the hours down, it will give someone time to start saying like, hey, well, if you're thinking about a farmer's market, how about this one that's coming up? Because the farmers are also taking a risk from their perspective, since we are a new, not established market. But having the town hall, the fee.
we're doing it on a weeknight less hours, so it may not be a bigger risk to them. They can try it,
Well-
so it'll be like,
If it's anything like.
it's not like getting up a Saturday and
They're not
getting there and
charging.
selling 2 potatoes. If you come here for 3 hours and sell 2 potatoes, oh, okay, it's not working, or give it a chance, or.
I think between the potential, I think our selling points for our market is that if we have a couple of years where we're not charging a vendor's fee, we have a good location and it's right on the main roadway. You know, the risks are minimum, less so than saying we're going up on top of a mountain and there's no traffic going by. But I think it's, like you said, not having the site fee, but this is like all adding up to the town supporting, really wanting this market to happen. So you're throwing everything at it right now to really get it off the ground by doing this. And I think, and this is like you were saying, the fiscal year issue. That's why we figured this is the time to get it going now, because I know it's going to be up right in the middle of the market season.
Yeah, you can't start in the middle of market season or never work.
What was that?
You can't start in the middle of the market.
Right.
It's gotta be, they gotta prep and.
They got to know that they have an outlet for those crops that they're putting into the field. And they got to, and then to establish the market, they'll know how much they're selling. So it's easier for them to plan years ahead to be like, all right, this is how much bunches of carrots I sell every night at the Stockbridge Farmers Market. This is how much I'm going to grow.
And I think nice about having it during the week is that those, when they go elsewhere on weekends,
Well, they
can come.
could theoretically do our market, then go to Lennox, then
And
they
then
could go to.
so we're not competing with them for the same date,
Right.
less hours. So I think it's,
No vendor fees.
Yeah.
I think it's a good move.
And again, in a couple of years, the idea though being that it should be self-sustaining. And that will be, something that the commission will have to work on, support and get it, if it's sturdy enough, the foundation, it should be.
Even depending on how much this position would pay, if it's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year, maybe we just keep it free. And
That's up to you.
I'm saying, it's just, we can
Right.
pick up a year down the road if we want to make it self-sufficient or
Right.
a little bit of tax dollars to promote our local farmers.
Right.
But that's something that can be decided
Yeah.
way down the road.
So how do you want to?
If you want to, and also if you do want to fund it with, say, 5,000 for ARPA, unlike the last discussion we had, this is our own, this is a town function. So this isn't
But we
money going
have,
to
we
a
have money,
sub-recipient.
And this
goes
helps
out,
the
so.
citizens.
we have money in the budget through different,
Yeah, I think there
We have
are
money in
some
the
areas-
budget.
Yeah,
I
I think
should
there are
use-
some areas.
I'd rather do that first too, you're
I'd
right.
rather use the money out of the budget, save the ARPA for
Yeah.
these other
Like
things
a
that are popping
bigger-
up that.
Yeah.
The next
The
thing is on the
bike
agenda.
Maybe we can
path.
just figure out what we recommend for pay, what we recommend, and then finalize everything for the
Yeah.
next one. Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Any other questions?
And that could be adjusted, as the person settles in and we know the hours and stuff.
Yeah, once
I'll
we-
be,
Yeah, this will be, it will be a trial year, but I think if, what you're discussing, everything, all your thoughts, this will help figure it out and moving forward, really lock into a summer. And you're doing everything possible that you possibly can to really jumpstart a market in the Berkshires.
Do you want to vote on anything or are we just sort of proceed?
I think
We don't,
Can't really vote.
yeah.
All right.
I think we can solidify it.
Yeah.
and
Any
make it-
questions from the public on a farmer's market or comments? No? All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much.
You.
All right. So last one is a bit of a tricky one. At the last regional school district planning board meeting, the board voted to ask each of the 10 there's 8 towns in 2 districts, and they voted to ask each one for $15,000. But subsequently, we got a letter saying that there may be some state money that's become available, and they've got a little bit of bridge funding from something called Burke 12, which is, one of these, kind of countywide groups to address it. So they'd initially asked each town for 15,000, but it looks like there's a pretty good chance that they won't need all of it. So I don't know, what's up?
Or any of it.
Or any of it, yes, they said it may obviate the entire need, that's actually in the letter. So I think we might want to just hold off on this one for a couple of weeks and see what plays out. And, but just understand that this is to get the job done to the end of the year, when I believe we're looking at a vote at the end of this year, next May, in terms of the merger with South Berkshire, so.
We did not approve this yet, correct?
What?
We didn't have a meeting on this yet, correct? To vote for the.
No. And right now, the negotiation is on the regional agreement. So it's, basically is, who pays what and what's the formula based on. So I think we're just going to table that if that's okay.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Any other business? You guys have anything?
No.
You've got the
meeting coming up.
the October.
Oh, right. We're announcing, so we on October 17th, at 5:30 PM here in the gym.
Wherever you guys think, here at Town Hall.
Here at Town Hall, we're going to have a public meeting for Main Street redesign project, presentation by Van Kakoyanakis.
Yes.
Kakoyanakis, yes, of engineering firm VHB. Will take place, yes. So 5:30 Monday, we're going to talk about the Main Street redesign project and let the engineers present some ideas on how we might go forward with that.
Great.
Good.
Okay. And I think we just need to remember that if we want to have public comments, we need to put it on the agenda. I think that would be a great idea to be thorough.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So motion to adjourn?
Second.
Aye.
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 All right. So how we did? We did.